Jungkook disappears on a secret flight. Jimin uncovers contracts, threats, and a sacrifice that rewrites loyalty, fame, and love in one night. Turn the plane around. Jimin didn't greet. He didn't ask where. He spoke like a verdict the moment the call connected. "It's already moving," Jungkook replied. "Don't come to the airport. You left without telling me." "I'm telling you now." "That's not telling. That's abandoning. I'm preventing something worse." "From who?" "From you." The line held. Neither of them filled it with apologies. Jimin inhaled as if collecting broken decisions. "If you hang up, I'm going to make this public." "Then you'll bury us both," Jungkook said. "Do you want the truth or a headline?" "I want you to turn around." "I can't. There's an NDA with a timer. There's an arbitration I have to attend in secret. If I'm seen with you, the clause activates, and they'll use you to punish me." "Who is they?" "The people who trained us to smile through fire," Jungkook said. "And someone older who thinks we owe him our whole future." Jimin didn't answer at once. When he did, it wasn't soft. "You should have told me before you signed anything." "I didn't sign. I was signed." "By who?" "My mother. Years ago. A consent for emergency reputation mitigation. It activates if I'm named in a family matter. Last week it triggered." "Family matter? What family matter?" "The one I hid to protect you." "Say it, Jungkook." "There's a claim that I have a half-brother. There's a trust fund dispute. The press got a hint, and the company wants me off the grid until they control the narrative. They think you'll explode if you're dragged in, and they're not wrong." Jimin laughed once without humor. "So, I'm a liability." "You're my anchor," Jungkook said. "Which is why they want distance." "And you obeyed?" "I chose you. By leaving me? By keeping you clean." "You don't get to define clean." "I do when they're ready to connect you to my alleged brother's guardian because you donated quietly to her school." Jimin froze at the mention. "You knew about that?" "You think I don't see the receipts when you move mountains for strangers?" "She wrote you a thank you. Legal got it. Now they can frame it as secret support to buy silence. They're stretching. They don't need truth. They need leverage. Then we fight. After this hearing, I need to go to Tokyo and sign an affidavit that separates you from everything. If you show up, they will write coordination. And the clause punishes us with a breach that hands them full control." "And if I don't show up," Jimin asked, "they hand me a script, and I read it to protect you." "Which script?" "That I'm irresponsible. That I put the team at risk. That I need to step back. That you had no idea because you are professional. They get clean headlines. You get a clean back." Jimin's breath went uneven again. "I don't want a clean back. I want the truth." "The truth is that I'm scared," Jungkook said. "I'm scared they'll get to my mother. I'm scared they'll drag your family. I'm scared of losing the part of us that isn't for sale." "Then say that on record." "They don't accept fear as evidence." "Then I'll be the evidence." "No, you don't own my voice. I'm asking, not ordering. You're running, not asking. I'm protecting." "From what exactly?" "The envelope." "What envelope?" "The one that arrived at the company yesterday. Photos of me with a child who looks a little like me. They'll say it's proof of paternity. It's not. He's my godson. But they'll use it to ruin the timing of the comeback and freeze endorsements. And the letter inside names you as the reason they'll go public." "Why me?" "Because they say you taught me to be reckless. Because you defended Omega trainees on camera. Because you push back when seniors humiliate staff. They've collected the clips. They think you're the fuse." Jimin went quiet. "Not because he yielded, but because he plotted. So they want to punish you for my mouth. They want to punish us for being human. And you think disappearing solves the disease. It buys us hours to operate." "How many?" 72. "Where?" "Tokyo first, then Busan, then a place I promised I'd never take you." "You already broke one promise. I'll break another to keep you safe." "You don't get to frame pain as protection and call it love," Jimin said. "If this is love, stand and face this with me. I will after I make sure they can't weaponize you. Give me something real to trust. A name, an account, a plan." "Chairman Seo is orchestrating the narrative," Jungkook said at last. "He wants to force a contract extension by making me radioactive alone. The plan: I meet an independent mediator in Tokyo who can prove the photos are from a community center event. Then I sign a statement that any donations you made were part of our foundation, not hush money." "You forged my name on a foundation statement?" "I drafted it. I didn't sign. But I will if you say yes." You want my permission to lie. I want your permission to survive. Survival without dignity is another kind of death, Jimin said. Listen carefully. I won't be your secret guilt. If they come, I'll face them. If they push, I'll speak. If they punish, I'll make them explain it in public. I know, Jungkook said. That's why I fell in love with you. You don't get to weaponize that sentence either. I'm not. I'm surrendering with it. Then surrender correctly. Come back. I can't. The jet is moving. Then stop it. I don't control the cockpit. Put me on speaker. I'll talk to whoever needs to hear. That would prove coordination. Then record me. Use it later. I'm already recording. Good. Here's my statement. I wasn't told because secrecy benefits everyone except the people who bleed for the group. I disagree with any narrative that isolates Jungkook to save a brand. If anyone uses my donations to frame me, publish the full ledger. If they threaten family, I go public with names. If they punish fans with manufactured delays, I refuse to lip-sync their apologies. Jimin, I'm not done. Tell the mediator I will testify remotely. Tell the chairman I won't be quiet. Tell legal I want the clause reviewed by a third-party ethics board. And tell your mother I will stand by her even if she's pressured to choose sides. Don't drag her. I didn't say drag. I said stand. Jungkook took a long breath that sounded like resignation converted to plan. You're going to hate what I say next. Try me. You can't post. Not yet. Why? Because they will smear the godson's mother immediately. She's not built for a storm. She runs a small center and cares for kids like we used to be. She's the target because she's breakable. Jimin paused. You think I'll break her by speaking? I think your voice is a storm. I love that. It's also a weapon that cuts in every direction. Give me 72 hours to shield her. You keep asking for hours, but you spent the last 24 without me. I spent them setting up a firewall. I looped in a lawyer who hates our company. I secured a pledge from a sponsor that won't pull out if the photos leak. I traced the envelope to a private fixer who used to work for Chairman C. I can't move the last piece if you're publicly linked to me today. What's the last piece? Payment. Someone is buying the fixer's silence with a transfer that clears at midnight in Tokyo. If I meet him before it clears, he'll talk. If it clears, we get nothing. And you think he'll talk because you're charming? Because I have proof he used company servers to draft the blackmail note. He needs a deal. You collected proof in one day? I've been collecting for months. Jimin swallowed the frustration that came from being protected without consent. Months? I never wanted to use it. And now you do. Now I have to. Who else knows? Taehyung suspects. Namjoon asked the right questions. Yoongi told me to leave a paper trail. Hoseok said to call you and I didn't. That's on me. That is on you, Jimin said. You gave me the worst version of you. Silent, solitary, self-sacrificing, and expected me to understand. I'm asking forgiveness after I fix it. You don't get pre-forgiveness. I know. Then why risk the thing you say you love most? Because I didn't trust the system to spare you. You trust me to spare me? I trust your courage. I doubt their mercy. Good. Doubt them loudly. With me, Jimin said. I'm done crying alone. I know you were crying, Jungkook said softly. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Make it worth it. I will, Jungkook said. But you need to promise me something too. What? If they come to you with a friendly interview, decline. They'll make you say lines that cut me. I won't recite their words. They'll offer protection for your solo project. Then I'll delay it. They'll threaten your family's small business with inspections. I'll film them inspecting. They'll call you ungrateful. I'll list our unpaid overtime. They'll say you're jealous of me. I'll say I'm terrified for you. Jungkook's tone hardened into strategy. Okay, then listen. I'm texting you 3 numbers. The first is the mediator. The second is the lawyer I hired behind their back. The third is the sponsor who agreed to stay. Call them in that order. Use the phrase, Lighthouse Project, so they know it's you. Why that phrase? Because you told me once that you learned to be brave by pretending to be a lighthouse, Jungkook said. You said lighthouses don't chase the ship. They stand and shine and let the ship find them. Jimin shut his eyes, not to escape but to focus. You remember everything I try to forget. I remember because it keeps me from drowning. You're not drowning. I am if you turn against me. Jimin exhaled the last of his resentment and replaced it with iron. I'm not against you. I'm against the way you decided for both of us. I decided to keep you safe. You decided to keep me silent. I decided to keep you loud at the right time. Then let me choose the time, Jimin said. Here's my counteroffer. I don't post publicly for 72 hours. In return, you let me into every call. No filters, no secrets. If the mediator asks for a solo statement, I deliver it live on video. If the fixer wants money, I authorize a legal escrow with conditions. If Chairman Seo tries to corner you, I appear on the same line and make it impossible to threaten you off record, Jungkook considered. Agreed. With one condition of my own. Say it. If anything backfires, we walk into the storm together. No blaming, no martyr stories. No, I told you so. We lose or win as us. People will call it romance. Let them. People will call it reckless. Let them. People will call it unprofessional. Let them. Jimin's voice steadied. Now give me the address in Tokyo. I can't put that in a text, Jungkook said. But I can give you a cipher you already know. You're really doing this. I am. Remember our first debut anniversary? The karaoke place we booked under a fake name? I remember the room number. Reverse it. Add my birth month. Then subtract your birthday. That's the hotel room. The mediator's assistant will confirm with the phrase, late checkout. This is insane. It's survival. You could have told me all this yesterday. I was afraid you'd stop me. I'm still trying, and I love you for it. Stop weaponizing that sentence, Jimin repeated, but the edge was gone. I'll call the mediator, then the lawyer, then the sponsor. Do it now. I will. But first, listen to me as if it's the last time I get to say this without an audience. Even if the photos trend, even if the chairman shouts, even if the fans split, I don't want the version of you that disappears to save me. I want the version that stands with me and risks being misunderstood. You're asking me to be seen. I'm asking you to be honest. I can do honest. Good. Start with yourself. Why are you really going to Tokyo? Jungkook didn't answer quickly. When he spoke, the words were simple and cost him a private price. Because I grew up believing I could fix any mess, as long as I carried it alone. Because I hate owing people. Because I hate being someone's leverage. Because I hate the idea that you'll look at me and see a problem to manage instead of a person to love. I don't love problems. I love people who tell me the truth even when it terrifies them. I'm terrified, Jungkook admitted. And I'm crying, Jimin said. But I'm done doing it in secret. Call me from Tokyo the moment you land. Put me on every call. If you feel yourself shrinking, say, Lighthouse. I'll answer, Lighthouse, Jungkook repeated, as if testing a key that still fit the lock. Okay, send the numbers. They're on the way. Then go, Jimin said. Not because I surrender, because I choose to fight on a timeline that saves the woman at the center and keeps our hands clean. 72 hours. No more, no more, Jungkook agreed. When I'm back, we're burning the claws and the chair it rode in on. Jimin almost smiled. Not from ease, but from resolve. When you're back, we're rewriting the rules. Together, Jungkook said. Together, Jimin echoed. Body. The calls began before the wheels left the ground. Jimin reached the mediator first and introduced himself without ceremony. He laid out the stakes in stacked sentences that allowed no detours. He refused closed sessions unless a complete transcript was guaranteed. He demanded the right to cross-check the origin of the photos. The mediator, startled by the candor, agreed to half of it and asked for time to consider the rest. Jimin granted an hour and no more. The lawyer answered next and didn't waste compliments. She said she'd been waiting for this permission and had already mapped a route. She wanted access to company servers, the original envelope, and the courier logs. She had a paralegal in Tokyo who could meet Jungkook at the hotel with a portable scanner and a hard drive. Jimin authorized every request and promised evidence of philanthropic transactions that would destroy the hush money story. He provided account numbers and dates from memory earned through years of keeping receipts for moments like this. The sponsor's executive picked up sounding cautious, but got bolder when Jimin offered a simple equation. Loyalty today for transparency tomorrow. He promised a live QA if they stayed. He promised to shoulder the blowback if they didn't. The executive, sensing the rare chance to be on the right side of a storm, chose to stay. He asked for a phrase to share privately with his board to signal authenticity. Jimin gave him Lighthouse Project and nothing else. Between calls, Jimin sent short messages to the members. He didn't ask permission to include them. He He declared the plan and stated their roles. Namjoon would draft a manifesto against weaponized scandal. Yoongi would review every line for legal landmines. Hoseok would contact the staff most likely to be bullied into false testimony and promise protection. Taehyung would monitor fan chatter and identify the rumor nodes that needed direct answers. Jin would call their parents and make sure no one panicked into a microphone. The replies came fast. Namjoon said he had already written half the manifesto during a sleepless night and needed only the hardest sentence, the one that admitted power. Yoongi demanded timestamps. Hoseok sent emojis that looked like a marching band. And then a sober, "I'm with you." Taehyung asked if Jimin had eaten and then wrote a paragraph about patterns of corporate abuse that had him fired up enough to volunteer for a televised debate. Jin said he'd handle parents, aunts, uncles, and anyone with a WhatsApp group. With the network alive, Jimin called his family. He didn't unload fear. He delivered instructions. He asked them to expect visitors. He coached them to redirect every question to the lawyer. He told them not to offer tea to people who arrived with cameras. He thanked them before they could worry. When they tried to comfort him, he didn't let the call stretch into tenderness that might crack his resolve. He ended with a promise that he intended to keep. "We're going to be fine because we'll be honest." After that, Jimin returned to the one person who hadn't been asked to do anything yet, himself. He opened the notes app that had become his private courtroom and wrote a statement he might never post. It contained the words he'd avoided for years because they sounded like gossip in other mouths. Love, loyalty, partnership. He wrote them without romance, as law. He wrote, "I will never sell a version of him to buy a version of me." He wrote, "If we fall as people, not products." He wrote, "We are not the rumor you want us to be. We are the truth you're afraid to admit." The mediator texted back and agreed to the transcript and the video record. The lawyer reported that the courier logs showed a gap that could only be explained by internal tampering. The sponsor sent a photo of the board's unanimous vote to stay. Taehyung, ever himself, sent a link to a forum where the rumor nodes were already mutating. He asked for language he could see that would slow the spread without lying. Jimin gave him 3 sentences built like bridges, not bait. Only then did Jimin allow himself to call Jungkook again. The connection felt less like a wound and more like a strategy line. "Status?" Jimin asked. "Taxiing," Jungkook answered. "We're about to take off. What's our horizon?" "Landing mid-afternoon Tokyo time. Meeting at dusk. Deal before midnight." "Copy." The mediator agreed to full record. The lawyer found the courier gap. The sponsor is in. The members are aligned. "Your mother? She's scared," Jungkook said. "But she's trusting you. She shouldn't have to trust me. She should have been asked." "I know. When you see her, apologize before you defend." "I will. Remember to insist on the clause review after this." "I won't forget." "And if the fixer tries to move the payment window, I'll move the leverage." "Good." "Jimin," Jungkook said after a pause. "Are you still crying?" "I'm still angry," Jimin said. The crying ended when the plan began. "I'm sorry I caused both." "You didn't cause the system. I caused the secrecy." "You did," Jimin said. "And you're going to make it right by letting me shine a light on every inch of it." "Lighthouse," Jungkook said. "Lighthouse," Jimin echoed. "Say something reckless for luck," Jungkook asked. "We win," Jimin said simply. "I'll take that. Take this too. After 72 hours. No more running. No more." Jungkook agreed again. "Good, fly safe. I don't know if I can promise safe." "Then promise brave." "Brave," Jungkook said. "For you. For us. For the kid they want to use." "For the kid," Jimin agreed. "I'll message his mother through the lawyer. She doesn't need to feel alone while we play chess." "Thank you." "You don't have to thank me for being who I am." "I know," Jungkook said. "But I want to. Hang up and work." "I'm going." "Go." "Don't sign anything," Jimin said as soon as the call connected. "If they hand you paper before we speak, walk out." "They won't get the chance," Jungkook answered. "I'm at the hotel." The mediator moved the meeting up by an hour. "Who moved it?" "His assistant," Jungkook said. She sounded rushed. "Rushed means pressured," Jimin replied. "Put me on every line. You're already on." The mediator joined with a formal greeting and a promise about neutrality. Jimin didn't entertain the preface. "Ground rules," Jimin said. "Full recording, unedited transcript, no off-the-record minutes, chain of custody for the envelope and photos. Written acknowledgement that any alleged connection to my donations is conjecture unless proven. That is a demanding list, the mediator said. It's a necessary list, Jimin replied. Grant or decline. We don't have time for polite filler. After a thin pause, the mediator agreed to recording, transcript, and chain of custody, and asked to review legal phrasing on the donation clause. Review it in the next 30 minutes, Jimin said. We proceed only if it's included. Understood, the mediator said. Mr. Jeon, may I confirm you're arriving alone? Not alone, Jungkook said. With counsel by phone and conscience in my ear, that's acceptable, the mediator replied, and disconnected to draft. Jimin turned back to Jungkook. Where's the fixer? 10 minutes away. He wants to meet before the payment clears. What does he want from you specifically? Assurance that I won't ruin him, Jungkook said. What will you offer? A future where he keeps his license if he talks. You think he still has a license? He has enough friends to pretend, Jungkook said. But pretend breaks under oath. The lawyer joined their channel. Quick update, she said. I got the courier log. There's a 17-minute gap from the loading bay to the security desk. That gap only exists if someone paused the package inside the building. Where? Jimin asked. A service corridor that connects legal to PR, the lawyer said. Only a handful of people can access both. Chairman sees of Chief of Staff, Jungkook said. Name? Jimin demanded. Kim Do-han, the lawyer replied. He authorized a special visitor badge yesterday for someone listed as IT consultant. The security camera on the corridor went offline for 19 minutes. Coincidence seems optimistic. Get the offline notice and the badge request, Jimin said. If the fixer names Kim Do-han, we have linkage. The lawyer promised documents within the hour and left to chase them. The assistant called back with the mediator's revised clause. Jimin read it silently, then out loud for the record. Any insinuation that Mr. Park's philanthropic activity was used to purchase silence is speculative and not to be repeated as fact without evidentiary support. Good, we proceed. Jungkook x Halid. Thank you. Save that for after we win, Jimin said. The fixer? A knock broke the rhythm. Jungkook opened the door but kept the chain. Name, Han Yul, the man said. You know why I'm here. Payment hasn't cleared, Jungkook replied. Talk first. Open the door. Not until you accept the conditions, Jungkook said. Everything is recorded. You'll get a lawyer's number. You'll get escrow for a signed statement. If you lie, escrow vanishes and the statement goes to prosecutors. I'm not facing prison for your drama, Han Yul said. You're facing prison for using company servers to write a blackmail letter, Jimin cut in. We have the log. Who is this? The fixer asked. The reason your buyer is nervous, Jimin said. Enter if you want a way out. Walk if you want headlines with your real name. Silence on the line. The chain clicked. The door opened. Jungkook kept it simple. Sit. Phone on the table. Airplane mode. That's cute, Han Yul said, but he complied. You two think you're the only ones allowed to play chess. We don't play, Jimin said. We document. You'll document yourself into career suicide, Han Yul replied. The chairman will not forgive this. The chairman sent an illegal letter, Jimin said. He doesn't get to talk forgiveness. Prove he sent me, the fixer said, leaning in the way criminals do when they think proximity is power. There's cash coming, and no name attached. The badge request, the lawyer said, rejoining at perfect timing. Kim Do-han approved access for IT consultant using an email that belongs to a shell firm you registered 3 months ago. I have the corporate paperwork. The shell's mailing address is your mother's apartment. The fixer's facade cracked without moving. You're bluffing. I'm reading, the lawyer said, and I'm recording. He measured his exit routes and found none. What do you want? The source of the photos, Jimin said. Who took them and when? A volunteer at the community center, the fixer said. She sold her phone to cover rent. A broker scraped it. The kid is not yours. The woman is not involved with you. Who ordered the envelope? Kim Do-han, he admitted. He said the chairman wanted insurance during contract talks. He said stirring rumors about a half-brother would move negotiations in their favor. What did they promise you? Jungkook asked. Work, he said. A permanent slot on retainer. Enough to stop freelance hustling. And the godson's mother? Jimin pressed. They planned to scare her, he said. 2 calls from fake reporters, 1 knock at night, a threat about zoning violations, standard stuff. Cancel it, Jimin said. Now, I don't have authority. You have a mouth, Jimin replied. Use it. Under the lawyer's direction, the fixer dialed his own team and gave a curt order to stand down. He didn't dramatize. He didn't apologize. He replaced malice with administration and ended the call. Good, Jimin said. Now here's your path out. A sworn, video-recorded statement naming Kim Do-han as the coordinator and describing the corridor gap, the shell firm, the scraped phone, and the plan to threaten the center. In return, you get a lawyer who will argue for leniency and a sealed cooperation agreement. You also call the broker and tell him the payment is compromised because the target is cooperating with prosecutors. You will tell him he can return the money or join you in the deposition. That's a lot of telling, the fixer murmured. That's the price of leaving, Jimin said, or stay. But understand this, I no longer bleed in quiet rooms. If you refuse, I take the transcript public with your name and your mother's address redacted. Your clients will find you before the police do. The fixer thought about fear the way cartographers think about lines. Get me the escrow terms, he said, and the number of the lawyer who hates your company. You already have it, the lawyer answered. Check the card under your phone. He lifted the phone. The card waited where she said it would. He laughed once, not from humor, but from resignation. You people are worse than the chairman. We're better, Jimin said, because we want this to end, not to continue as a business model. The fixer nodded without grace. I'll talk. They recorded the statement in one take. He traced the route of the envelope through the building. He named the shell firm. He recited the draft lines he was told to leak to selected reporters. Phrases like reckless influence, secret child, charity as cover. He revealed the final lever, a plan to leak a fake voice note that would stitch two real conversations into a distorted confession. Send me the splice script, Jimin said. It's on a drive, the fixer replied. Kim Do-han keeps it in his office safe. Combination? Jungkook asked. I don't know, he said, but I know the model and the locksmith the company uses. Text the name to the lawyer, Jimin instructed, and stay reachable. The fixer signed the escrow agreement, sent his team a message to freeze, and left with the posture of a man who had traded swagger for a receipt. Jimin didn't celebrate. We're not done. I know, Jungkook said. The mediator called back. I have the revised clause ready, he announced, and I have a request. The company insists on a representative present. No, Jimin said instantly. They can submit questions in writing. If a representative appears, they will tamper or intimidate. I can't bar them from the hotel, the mediator said. You can bar them from the room, Jimin replied. Your neutrality is not a corridor. The mediator hesitated, then relented. All right, no company representative inside. Written questions only. Send them, Jimin said. The questions arrived within minutes. They were a taxonomy of innuendo, timelines designed to trap, wording designed to insinuate. Jimin and the lawyer dismantled them line by line. They corrected loaded terms. They demanded that any use of the word alleged be matched with equal repetition of denied with evidence. They removed language that called Jimin a close friend, in contexts meant to minimize him, and replaced it with co-founder of the foundation, which was accurate and inconvenient to the smear. Approved, the mediator concluded. We begin in an hour. Before we do, Jimin said, I want the recorder to catch this sentence from me. If the company retaliates against anyone who testifies today, we will bring that retaliation to daylight with names attached. Noted, the mediator said. The hour between approval and hearing was a battlefield. PR pushed out a gentle message about supporting members through personal challenges, which read like compassion and smelled like preemptive blame. Jimin replied not with a statement, but with a ledger link that verified years of community center support, audited and clean. He didn't frame it as defense or confession. He framed it as routine transparency and let anyone searching for scandal trip over proof of ordinary good. Namjoon sent the draft manifesto. It was sharp without being slanderous. It named patterns, selective outrage, staged contrition, weaponized rumor. Yoongi cut out metaphors that might be twisted. Hoseok reported that a manager had already tried to corner a stylist into sharing anonymous impressions of Jimin. Hoseok advised the stylist to reply with a simple line, I will speak only under oath. Taehyung proved his worth by flooding rumor nodes with boring facts, which slowed the machine because lies feed on spice and facts taste like boiled rice. Across town, Chairman Seo realized the payment to the fixer had stalled. He called Kim Do-han. Their conversation didn't reach the group. But its result did. A fresh wave of legal letters warning about morality clauses. The lawyer snorted when she read them. Morality, she said, is a word people use when they can't prove law. File them, Jimin said. We'll use the threat as pattern evidence. The hearing began on time with a table, a recorder, and a promise that no one would be muted. The mediator asked Jungkook to state his name and intent. My name is Jeon Jungkook, he said. My intent is to separate truth from leverage. He described the community center visit, the child who was his godson, the volunteer who took the photo without malice. He explained the envelope, the corridor, the shell firm, the fixer. He named the imminent payment and the escort of lies arranged to cover it. He acknowledged his mother's old consent form and defended her for signing it in a world that teaches parents to fear contracts more than storms. He declared that the clause would not be used to sever him from the person who gave him courage. The mediator turned to Jimin, who was present by video. Do you wish to make a statement? Yes, Jimin said. I reject the idea that managing a brand requires erasing a person. I reject the equation that turns honesty into recklessness. I reject silence as strategy when silence harms people outside the ring. I am here not as a rumor, but as a co-founder of a foundation that keeps receipts and delivers aid without cameras. The mediator then asked the questions the company had submitted, stripped of their poison. Jimin and Jungkook answered plainly. The lawyer interjected when wording veered toward insinuation. When the mediator requested evidence, the paralegal slid scanned logs and time-stamped files across the table to the recorder's eye. Halfway through, the mediator asked a question of his own. Why not wait until the company finished its internal process? Because internal processes in this town often mean no process at all, Jimin said. Transparency is not a press release. It's a recording with parties present and consequences attached. When the recording paused so the mediator could confer with his clerk, Jungkook texted a single sentence to Jimin. I'm proud of you. Jimin replied with two. Be proud of us. Do not disappear again. The hearing resumed and ended with formal language. The mediator issued a preliminary finding that the photos did not substantiate paternity, that the donation narrative lacked evidence, and that any attempted weaponization of charitable activity would be considered defamation in context. He scheduled a follow-up within 48 hours to allow for additional submissions, including the fixer's sworn video statement and the courier gap logs. Outside the room, the world didn't explode. It adjusted. Bloggers searched for the leaked half-brother story and found nothing official to quote. The sponsor posted a bland but firm note about standing with partners who stand with truth. Fans argued in threads that bent toward patience because the ledger link gave them something to read other than rumors. Jimin used the relative quiet to call the godson's mother. He didn't ask for her forgiveness for a storm she didn't start. He asked what she needed. She asked for someone to look at a broken inverter at the center, a detail that belonged to real life, not headlines. Jimin promised to send an electrician who did not bring a camera. Then he rang Jungkook again. Status? The fixer left for the prosecutor's office with our lawyer, Jungkook said. He's scared but compliant. Good, Jimin said. How are you? Tired, Jungkook said. And lighter. You're allowed to be both. I keep thinking about yesterday, Jungkook added. How I left without telling you. Don't repeat it, Jimin said. That's the apology I accept. I won't, Jungkook promised. How are you? Angry, Jimin admitted. But channeling it helps. I spoke with my family. They're steady. Taehyung wants to declare war on live TV. Hold him, Jungkook said. We fight with documents first. He knows, Jimin said. He's channeling into fan moderation. Of course he is, Jungkook said. And for a moment the two of them allowed the normal warmth of friendship to pass between them without guilt. The lawyer rejoined with a quiet triumph that sounded like a stamp. We have it, she said. The offline notice, the badge request, the shell incorporation, and the locksmith says Kim Do-han's safe hasn't been rekeyed since installation. He gave me the default code they often forget to change. Illegal to use without a warrant, Jimin noted. Illegal if we use it, the lawyer corrected. Perfectly legal if the prosecutor does. Coordinate, Jimin said. And secure the volunteer. She didn't intend harm. She'll be protected, the lawyer promised. I'll arrange a statement for her that explains the phone sale without putting shame on poverty. Do it, Jimin said. As they ended the call, Jungkook lingered. There's one more thing. Say it. When this is over, Jungkook said, I don't want to return to the version where we accept their rules as normal. Then we won't, Jimin said. We'll propose a new code and make it public. Not a manifesto that shouts, but a charter that binds. We'll get punished. Maybe for a season, Jimin said. But seasons turn. You're brave. Brave is a choice you trained me to make, Jimin said. We do it together or not at all. Together, Jungkook answered. They set practical steps for the next day. A joint call with the mediator, a coordinated outreach to the prosecutor, a letter to the board demanding a review of the consent clause. They assigned Namjoon as the editor of all outward language. They set a time for rest and agreed to keep it, because martyrs make bad strategists. Before hanging up, Jimin added one final directive. After this call, message your mother, he said. Not with updates, with love. She needs to know you see her as more than a signature. I will, Jungkook said. And you? I'll message the center's staff, Jimin said. I'll ask what they need tomorrow besides an electrician. We promise to be people, not products. People show up. They ended the call without theater, because the day had used up their capacity for spectacle. Each returned to work, Jimin to the network he had willed into a shield, Jungkook to the files that had become his map out of a maze someone else built. By evening, the prosecutor's office confirmed receipt of the fixer's statement and the courier logs. The mediator sent a summary that would be shared with the company. Preliminary exoneration, pending final review. The sponsor called to say their board meeting had ended with a unanimous commitment to stay the course and a private donation to the community center as an independent gesture made without press. Jungkook messaged Jimin a screenshot of his text to his mother. No strategy, no instructions, just gratitude. Jimin replied with a photo of the donation ledger open on a screen. Then another of a draft charter titled, Work Without Fear. Lighthouse, Jungkook wrote. Still on, Jimin answered. They didn't pretend the storm had passed. They accepted that storms were part of the climate they lived in and decided to build structures that survive them. Then, with the discipline that keeps a plan from becoming a performance, they closed their laptops, set their alarms, and prepared to continue in the morning, honest, coordinated, and done with running. Read the statement we drafted for you, the producer said. Say you didn't know Jungkook left. Say you're worried about the team. I'm not your actor, Jimin replied. And I'm not worried about the team. I'm worried about the people. This is a friendly program. Friendly doesn't demand a script. The call cut. Another arrived with the speed of an ambush. Park Jimin, the new voice said, polished and casual. Chairman CEO here. You've become very busy. Let me simplify your day. You can simplify it by resigning. You're emotional, CEO said. Understandable. I'm speaking about business. If you separate from Jungkook publicly for a few weeks, nothing dramatic. A scheduling note, your solo endorsement launches on time. We'll fund your foundations next quarter. We'll issue a gentle statement about individual growth. Everybody wins. Who loses? Only the noise, CEO said. The brand cannot carry personal storms forever. The brand doesn't carry us, Jimin replied. We carry the brand, CEO's tone cooled. If you reject this, the company will enforce the consent clause to the letter. A break can be painless or surgical. Choose. I choose truth, Jimin said. And you can tell Kim Do-han, I already have the corridor logs. A beat of silence. You don't know what you've started. I know exactly what I've started, Jimin said. A world where you don't get to blackmail kids with contracts you wrote when they were too young to argue. You're not a kid. Then stop treating me like one. The line died with the crispness of a door slamming. A message appeared before the screen dimmed. A photo of a document with government stamps and a name circled in pen. The sender was an account with no posts, no followers, and a single letter as a handle. H. He called Jungkook immediately. Someone sent me a birth certificate, Jimin said. The child's name is Ha. Newell. The father box has your father's name. Silence spread like a drop of ink. Then Jungkook spoke plainly. He told my mother once. They never verified. We decided the kindest truth was the quiet one. And you didn't tell me? I was trying to keep one room of my life from collapsing into another, Jungkook said. I was wrong. Is Ha Newell the godson? No, Jungkook said. Different family, different city. That's why the rumor works. It mixes two unrelated kindnesses into one scandal. Does your mother know this certificate exists? She's never seen it. She would break. Then we protect her while we verify, Jimin said. I'll send it to the lawyer. We don't hide it. We contextualize it. You're not angry? I'm angry you were trained to bury what hurts, Jimin said. Not at the child who never asked to be evidence. A new voice intruded. The lawyer had joined without being invited because she never waited for etiquette. If the certificate is real, the legal angle changes, she said. It doesn't validate the photos or the envelope, but it gives the chairman a moral hook he doesn't deserve. We get ahead of it by refusing shame. Draft language, Jimin said. Simple, human, no pity. On it, the lawyer replied. Also, the prosecutor secured a warrant for Kim Do-han's safe. The locksmith provided the default code. They're en route. Good, Jimin said. And the fixer? Cooperating, she said. He's giving us the broker's ledger. Jungkook spoke quietly. If Han Newell exists, I want to meet him. Not for optics, for life. You'll meet him as Jungkook, not as a headline, Jimin said. But first, we stop the machine. The producer from earlier texted back with a new tactic. A clip request. Send a 20-second video to assure fans the group is fine. Smiles. Gratitude. No details. Jimin called rather than type. You want gratitude when you're sharpening a knife? We just want calm, the producer said. Calm isn't a lie, Jimin replied. Calm is information. You get a clip when we have information. We'll mark you as uncooperative. Mark me as awake. He hung up. Another call arrived with the kind of timing that always feels coordinated. It was Taehyung. Jimin, you want me on TV, Taehyung said. Give me lines. Use boring ones, Jimin replied. Facts, dates, no adjectives bigger than unfair. Don't give them a soundbite shaped like a bomb. Copy, Taehyung said. Also, my cousin's friend works in building security. He says Kim Do-han just left with 2 boxes. Heading where? Garage. South exit. Jimin texted the information to the lawyer, then called Namjoon. Bridge our charter to today, he said. Turn work without fear into a thread that explains why we're recording everything. No target names, just principles. Publish at noon. Namjoon didn't ask for revisions before agreeing. It'll attract lawsuits, he said. It'll attract light, Jimin replied. The mediator pinged the group. Company counsel requests to submit new evidence. A voice note. Jimin's reply was immediate. We anticipated a splice. We will accept only the original recordings with metadata. Anything else is defamatory by design. The mediator, to his credit, refused the file without a chain of custody. 5 minutes later, the prosecutor's office sent a short update. Warrant executed. Drive seized. Preliminary review confirms editing software and project files matching the voice note leak plan. Send the hash values to the mediator, Jimin said. He needs something heavy to throw at counsel. Jungkook finally let his fear out in a sentence that didn't beg for comfort. It asked for reality. What if my father confirms the certificate? Then we make space for Han Newell without allowing a machine to devour him, Jimin said. We will not let a child become marketing. What if fans turn? Some will, Jimin said. Most want the truth more than a spotless poster. We'll treat them like adults. The rest we release. Jungkook exhaled slowly. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's honest. A new call came in from an unknown number. Jimin answered because he had promised to stop hiding. Mr. Park? The voice was careful, polite, and very tired. This is from the community center. Are you safe? Jimin asked. Yes, she said. But someone came last night and asked if I sold my phone to cover rent. I didn't know how to answer without shame. You answer with facts, Jimin said. People sell things to survive. That's not shame. That's reality. The shame belongs to the person who scraped your photos and weaponized them. Our lawyer will call you. You owe no one a performance. The woman thanked him with relief that sounded like a door opening. Jimin hung up and stared at the ceiling that had become a battlefield map in his mind. I want to stop only when the right people are tired, he said. Then we keep going, Jungkook replied. They split the next hour into 30-second blocks that felt like oxygen rations. Jimin cleared language with Namjoon. He coordinated with the lawyer about protective filings. He called Jin to ask for a quiet conversation with Jungkook's mother that didn't use the word scandal even once. He messaged Hoseok to check on crew members who might be questioned. He sent Taehyung the facts again, just in case. When the charter thread went live, it didn't explode. It moved steadily, widely, like water behind a broken dam choosing its own path. The words were stubborn and practical. They rejected the idea that silence equals professionalism. They asked fans to demand transcripts, not apologies. They offered a promise that future crises would be logged, not staged. People began quoting lines that worked as tools in their own lives. The machine recoiled because machines do not know what to do with dignity that refuses to shout. The company tried a counterpunch, a press conference invite for selective outlets with a reputation for beautiful headlines. The topic was protecting young stars. The subtext was, obey. Jimin called the anchor, who was set to host, and kept it clinical. You're about to be used, he said. If you want to do journalism, ask to see the corridor logs. Ask about shell firms. Ask why the company keeps a default safe code. Ask about the fixer's retainer. If they refuse, walk. I can't just walk, the anchor said. You can, Jimin replied. But if you won't, at least refuse the script. Silence. Then, a sigh that sounded like someone changing lanes without signaling. I'll ask for the logs. That's a start. At the hotel, the second hearing began. The mediator opened with a summary of the prosecutor's evidence. Project files, offline camera notices, the shell firm's incorporation, the badge log. He asked company counsel whether they still wished to submit the voice note. Counsel declined and moved to a new angle, stability. They argued that members should avoid non-essential entanglements and that public declarations of loyalty could be viewed as unprofessional. Define non-essential, Jimin said over video. Anything that distracts from group commitments, counsel replied. Then kindness is non-essential, Jimin said. Family is non-essential. Truth is non-essential. If that's your model, say it clearly so artists can decide whether to sign. The mediator didn't smile, he wrote. Counsel shifted to safer ground. They demanded a cooling-off period from public commentary. No, Jimin said. We will not outsource our integrity to your timeline. Mr. Park, the mediator said gently. There is a balance. Balance isn't silence, Jimin replied. Balance is honesty with boundaries. The paralegal handed Jungkook a document. It was a copy of the old consent form his mother had signed, here in black and white without context or emotion. Jungkook read it and didn't crumble. He folded it and placed it back on the table. Record this, he said. My mother signed a paper because fear is persuasive when you have no power. I refuse to let her decision be weaponized against me or Mr. Park. I refuse to let anyone shame a parent for believing a corporation's promise to protect their child. The mediator nodded once, a small civilian salute. An assistant hurried in with a note for the mediator and an apology for interrupting. The mediator scanned it and looked at Jungkook. The prosecutor requests that you both remain reachable, he said. They have executed a search at the company office. They expect pushback. They'll get it, Jimin said. Tell them to bring extra recorders. Company counsel asked for a recess. The mediator granted 10 minutes. During the break, Jungkook called his mother. He didn't hide behind updates. He spoke like a son. I'm sorry you're in this, he said. I'm proud of you. Not because you signed or didn't sign, but because you raised me to know the difference between fear and control. She cried for a moment he couldn't fix with a statement. She told him a name from years ago, a friend who had tried to warn her about Chairman Seo and had been quietly removed from meetings. Jungkook wrote it down. Names are keys. Jimin sent a coordinated text to the members. If anyone calls asking for off-the-record impressions, reply with, please send questions in writing. We will respond with counsel present. He turned to the lawyer. How do we frame the possible half-brother? Straight, she said. No hedging. If real, he's family, not scandal. If not, explain the context without insulting anyone. I'll say it, Jimin replied. Not because it's my place, but because it's my choice. The break ended. Counsel returned with a different tone. Wounded professionalism. They argued that the group's harmony was being threatened by outside actors. They suggested a mutual non-disparagement clause to restore unity. Unity isn't silence, Jimin said again. Unity is alignment. If you want unity, align with the truth. The mediator scheduled the follow-up session for the next day and adjourned. As the room emptied, Jungkook's phone buzzed with a new number and a single-word text. Young? He stared at it. He didn't move. He didn't try to control the tremor that wasn't in his hands, but in the part of him that had been waiting for something unnamed. Jimin's voice arrived like a lifeline. "Read it to me." Someone texted Hyung. "No name, just that." "Call," Jimin said. "We don't run from life." Jungkook called. The line connected. A boy's voice, older than a child and younger than the weight he carried, spoke carefully. "I was told not to speak to you," the voice said. "But I saw your charter. I read the part about not selling people to save products. I wanted to know if you meant me too." Jungkook swallowed. "Who are you?" "I'm Ha Newell," he said. "I don't want money. I want to stop hearing adults argue about me like I'm a rumor." Jimin didn't interrupt. He let the sentence fill the room and rearrange the furniture of their plans. "Where are you?" Jungkook asked. "In Seoul," Ha Newell said. "But they want to move me." "Who is they?" Jimin cut in, gentle but uncompromising. "Men who say they're from the company," Ha Newell answered. "They said going away would be better for everyone." Jimin's anger tightened into a decision. "You won't go anywhere with them. We're calling the prosecutor right now. We're sending someone we trust to stand with you until officials arrive." "I don't want strangers," Ha Newell said. "You won't get strangers," Jimin replied. "You'll get Taehyung or Jin, or both. They're family by choice. I watched you all on TV." "Ha," Newell whispered. "You felt like home I didn't know." Jungkook's voice was steady. "You don't owe us a story, but you deserve safety and truth. Can you send your location?" Ha Newell sent a pin. It pointed to a modest address that needed no description to say ordinary. The lawyer took the pin and dispatched a contact at the prosecutor's office to meet him. Jin confirmed he was already in a car with Taehyung, heading that way. Jimin gave directions like a conductor refusing chaos. "Jin, you handle adults. Taehyung, you stay with the boy and keep phones away from his face. Don't let anyone record. Do not negotiate. Wait for law." "Understood," Jin said. "Copy." Taehyung echoed. Company counsel, unaware of the new variable, sent a final message for the day. A demand that Jungkook issue a neutral apology for the distress caused to stakeholders. Jimin typed the response and showed it to Jungkook before sending. "We do not apologize for telling the truth. We apologize to those harmed by your tactics. Prepare to answer for them." "Send it," Jungkook said. He closed his eyes for a second that contained years. He opened them with a decision that was not theatrical, just adult. "Jimin, yeah, if he is my brother, I want him to call me that because he chooses to, not because a lawyer decides blood." "Then give him a name to choose," Jimin said. "Give him you." The phone rang again. It was the prosecutor. "We have the drive. We have the logs. We're at the address. The boy is safe. 2 men claiming to be company security are detained for questioning." Jin got on the line from the scene. "He's with us," Jin said. "He's calm. He asked for water and a charger. He doesn't want cameras." "Tell him he doesn't have to be brave," Jimin said. "Tell him we'll handle brave for him." Jungkook breathed out something that wasn't relief yet, but could become it. "I'm coming back to Seoul tomorrow," Jimin said. "We finish the Tokyo tasks tonight. Then we come home and face this together. Together." Jungkook agreed. The mediator messaged a final time. "Given new developments, tomorrow's session will include a child advocacy officer." "Good," Jimin replied. "About time someone invited adults who protect children instead of brands." Night gathered outside the window. Jimin hadn't looked through all day, but he didn't narrate it. He checked his list, crossed nothing off, and added 3 more lines. "Meet Ha Newell with dignity. Rewrite the consent clause with teeth. Publish the charter with signatures." He texted Jungkook 1 sentence before sleep became a strategic choice, not a luxury. "Lighthouse stays on," Jungkook answered with the same 2 words he had learned to trust. "Lighthouse on." The machine roared somewhere far away, throwing threats like coins into a fountain. Inside their circle, the plan held. And at a small address that didn't need a headline, a boy sat between Jin and Taehyung, hearing adults speak to each other without scripts, and for the first time since the rumor began, he was not an object in someone else's narrative. He was a person in a room waiting for morning. "Start with the boy," Jimin said. "Everything else can wait." Jin put the phone on speaker. "We're outside the district office with a Newell. The prosecutor's contact is here. Paperwork first, then placement with relatives, while paternity is verified. Are you okay? Jungkook asked. I'm tired of being a rumor, Hanul said, but I'm okay. You won't be moved without consent, Jimin told him. You have people now, real ones. Taehyung cut in. 2 security consultants tried to pick him up. They're detained. They asked to call a company lawyer. The officer said no until statements are taken. Good, Jimin said. Keep it clean. No speeches, just facts. The lawyer joined. Warrant executed. Kim Do-han's safe contained the drive with splice projects, notes on talking points, and cash envelopes. The fixer's ledger matches the retainer entries. I've forwarded the hash values to the mediator. What about Chairman Seo? Jungkook asked. Not arrested, the lawyer said. But the board is convening an emergency session at 3. They're panicking about liability. Let them panic, Jimin replied. We'll give them a way out that isn't cruelty. Jungkook's flight landed 2 hours later. He called the moment he cleared the gate. Hotel to boardroom to district office, he said. That's my path. Reverse it, Jimin answered. We see the boy first, then the board. They met at the district office's neutral room where voices carry and promises can be recorded. No cameras, no handlers. Just chairs, a table, and an officer who understood that children are not content. Hanul looked at Jungkook without asking for proof. If you're not my brother, he said, will you still know my name? Yes, Jungkook answered. And if you are, I won't turn you into a headline, Jimin spoke to the officer. We'll fund a guardian ad litem who isn't tied to the company. We'll cover school and counseling. No publicity, no favors asked in return. That's unusual, the officer said. It's normal where we come from, Jimin replied. We just forgot for a while. Hanul's aunt arrived with documents and a firmness that made adults behave. She thanked no one and accepted help only after the officer explained it in simple terms. She set boundaries and asked for numbers that went directly to people, not departments. Jimin gave his own. She nodded once, which was better than gratitude. When the forms were done, Hanul looked at Jungkook again. Can I pick a day to meet you where there aren't microphones? Any day you want, Jungkook said. Pick the place too. Then the library by my school, the boy decided. They don't like noise there. Perfect, Jimin said. Silence can be honest. They left the district office without a handshake staged for anyone. In the car, Jungkook called his mother. He didn't outsource the conversation to schedules or staff. I met a boy who might be family, he said. I didn't promise what I can't deliver. I promised who I am. She'll need time, Jimin murmured after the call ended. So will I, Jungkook said. But time is easier when you stop lying to it. The boardroom felt colder than the district office, not because of air, but because of habit. Jimin insisted on the recorder. The board complied because the prosecutor's office had just requested copies of their minutes for the last 2 years. Chairman Seo opened with a careful apology to stakeholders. Stakeholders? Jimin repeated. Try people. Seo's jaw tightened. We regret the distress caused by unauthorized actions of staff. Your chief of staff, the lawyer corrected. Acting within a system you designed. SEO tried to pivot to future harmony. Jungkook cut him off. Let's not sell harmony as silence, he said. Here's what we need to continue working with you. Retire the consent clause. End private morality riders that turn charity into leverage. Create a permanent independent ombudsperson with power to publish reports without company approval. Adopt our Work Without Fear charter and let artists from other labels sign it too. And issue a public statement that names exactly what happened here. An attempt to weaponize rumor for contract control. A board member frowned. You're asking us to change the industry. No, Jimin said. We're asking you to stop breaking people and calling it standard. If you won't lead, others will. Or you walk, Seo said. We don't bluff, Jimin replied. We leave and we film exactly why. Silence worked harder than volume. The sponsor representative joined by video and saved time. We stay with them. If you retaliate, we leave with them. We prefer ethics to crisis management. Another director, one who had spent more years in rooms than on stages, cleared his throat. If we remove the clause and accept the ombudsperson, what do we receive besides goodwill? You receive talent that doesn't burn out, the lawyer said. And a legal shield. Transparency makes blackmail harder. Seo tried the oldest trick. Flattery as leash. Jungkook, you're our future. Don't throw it away on ideals. My future is not a leash, Jungkook answered. It's a door I choose. The mediator, invited to observe, offered a summary like a verdict. Our preliminary finding exonerates Mr. Jeon and Mr. Park from the insinuations tied to the photos. The prosecutor's evidence corroborates a deliberate attempt to manufacture scandal. My recommendation: immediate suspension of involved staff, public apology to the community center, adoption of a transparency protocol, and a contractual audit overseen by an independent body. CO calculated and found himself short on pieces. He looked to his board for cover and found reluctant math. Votes were taken. Kim Do-hyun was terminated for cause and referred for prosecution. A public apology was approved, written in plain language and not marketese. The consent clause was suspended pending review, with an interim order that no rider could be enforced without third-party approval. An ombudsperson role was created with a short list of names Jimin had already prepared. And you? Seo asked at last to Jimin and Jungkook. What do you give us right now? The same thing we give fans, Jimin said. A show built on the truth that we are not products. We'll finish the comeback on time. We won't read your apology for you. You will read it yourselves. Another vote. Passed. The press conference happened at sunset because that's when people watch and decide what to believe before dinner. There was no stagecraft beyond a row of chairs and microphones that recorded rather than disguised. The company apologized to the community center by name. They admitted to an internal failure without outsourcing guilt to a phantom. They promised an audit with dates. Reporters asked about the alleged voice note. The lawyers stated the facts about the Splice projects now in the prosecutor's custody. A journalist asked if Jungkook had a half-brother. If there is a boy who shares my blood, Jungkook said, he isn't a scandal. He's a person. We will treat him like family, not fodder. We will protect his privacy. We will not answer questions about him again. Jin and Taehyung stood at the back, not for effect, but to make sure the room behaved. Namjoon released the charter's final version at the exact minute the apology ended. Yoongi posted a thread full of explanations that made lawsuits nervous because accuracy is hard to sue. Hosok thanked crew members by initials and job titles, so they felt seen without being exposed. After the cameras stopped, Jimin and Jungkook walked not to a celebratory dinner, but to the community center. The director met them at the door with a clipboard and a list of broken things that needed fixing. Jimin asked which one mattered most today. She chose the inverter. Jungkook called an electrician. No photos were taken. No ribbon was cut. Money moved. Work got scheduled. Life, which had refused to pause for their crisis, kept going. On the ride back, they finally talked about themselves without legal pads in their laps. You left to protect me, Jimin said. It hurt, I know, Jungkook answered. I was still a boy who thought love means doing the worst parts alone. And now? Now I think love means doing the worst parts together and letting the world misunderstand if it must. Jimin nodded at a city that didn't require his approval. We should put that on the charter. It's implied, Jungkook said, but say it anyway. They returned to the dorm, not as escape, but as headquarters. The members were there with open laptops and tired eyes that didn't need pity. Jin reported that Hanul was home with his aunt and that the caseworker had set a plan without cameras. Taehyung announced that rumor nodes had slowed to a crawl because boredom is the enemy of lies. Namjoon said the charter had been downloaded by other artists' teams. Yoongi had already started a fund for legal support across the industry and named it after the most basic act, saying no. Hoseok passed around a printed schedule for the next week that included recording, rest, and a meeting with the new ombudsperson. Jimin stood and spoke without performance. We're done letting fear be policy. If any of us is targeted again, we go on record in the first hour. We demand transcripts. We refuse scripts. We take care of people who can't afford consultants. And we don't trade each other for calm. If that's too heavy for anyone, say it now and we'll carry for you until you can carry again. No one asked to put anything down. Jungkook turned to Jimin in front of everyone because secrets had cost them too much. I'm sorry, I disappeared. Don't repeat it, Jimin said. That's the apology that counts. I won't, Jungkook promised. And if I try, you pull me back. I will, Jimin said. By name. They laughed at nothing and everything, not as escape, but as proof that storms had not taken their voices. Then the room got quiet in the way a control room gets quiet when the work is real. The next morning, the board released their documents, as promised. The ombudsperson accepted the role and published an email address fans could use to report abuse across the industry. The prosecutor filed charges against Kim Do-han. The fixer entered a cooperation agreement that included restitution to the center. Bloggers who had sharpened knives pivoted to think pieces about reform. Some were honest, some were opportunistic, and none mattered as much as the electrician's invoice stamped paid. At noon, Jungkook and Jimin visited the library Ha-Nul had chosen. They didn't bring staff. They sat at a table with the boy and his aunt and talked about school schedules, sports he might like, and a scholarship that would sit quietly in a bank until he needed it. They didn't define family by announcements. They defined it by commitments written on paper with signatures that meant something. On the way out, Ha-Nul looked at them. "Can I call you Hyung when there aren't cameras?" "You can call me that whenever you want," Jungkook said. "And you?" the boy asked Jimin. "You can call me Jimin," he said. "And if anyone tells you to be quiet for their comfort, call me again." They parted without theatrics because dignity is quiet when it's real. Back at the studio, the group recorded the last chorus of the comeback track. No one pretended the last week hadn't happened. They sang like people who had written their own terms. When the take ended, Jungkook glanced at Jimin not for permission but for partnership. "Last thing," Jimin said. "No more disappearing flights. Only visible ones," Jungkook replied. "Book together. We don't always have to sit in the same row," Jimin added. "We don't," Jungkook agreed. "But we arrive at the same gate." The charter hung on the wall, printed and signed, not as decoration but as a contract with themselves. Under it, someone had taped a handwritten line that wasn't corporate enough to make a brochure, but strong enough to hold them upright. "We are not the rumor. We are the work." When the episode of their lives that others would condense into a headline finally closed, they didn't toast victory or stage tears. They answered emails, checked on a boy, and rehearsed for a show that would pay for a sinner's roof. And that night, before sleep, Jimin sent one last message to Jungkook that required no reply. "Lighthouse stays on, even in daylight." Jungkook read it and placed his phone face down, not to block the light, but to let it reflect off the surface of everything that mattered now, work done on better terms, a boy whose name would not be traded, a mother who would never again be signed on without a voice, a partner who refused to be handled, and a future that no longer demanded either of them disappear to protect the other. The world spins, or doesn't. Either way, the center holds. "No more coded captions," Jungkook says. "No more sources say. No more performative silence. No more journey unless we mean a bus route. No more pretending we didn't know what we were choosing. Deal." They clean the table. They press record. They stop when the take is honest enough to breathe. They replace grand declarations with a sentence that fits in a palm and still shakes the room. "We will keep making the truest thing we can, and we will not pretend we don't know each other." No cliff, no countdown. Just a door open now. A leaked ultimatum hits Jungkook before his first solo stage post-announcement. Jimin refuses rescue but chooses presence, turning rupture into a vow lived out loud. "Sign this, or we pull your sponsorship and your tour." "That's not a contract," Jungkook says. "That's a threat wrapped in stationery." "It's a brand safety addendum," the rep replies. "Too fast. You agree to avoid public association with Jimin for 12 months. No mentions, no acknowledgments. Clean separation." "Clean?" Jungkook repeats. "You mean sterile?" "It protects all parties. It protects your timeline," Jungkook says. "And it poisons mine. Think carefully," the rep says. "We have a press conference in 40 minutes. Sign and we back your single with a 7-figure campaign. Refuse and we press pause." "I don't do well with pause," Jungkook says. "Put your paper away." The rep swallows words that taste like panic and leaves. The room resets without changing shape. Jimin steps in, not as a ghost, not as a headline, but as a person whose phone is off because he turned it off on purpose. "What did they try?" he asks. "An addendum that erases you," Jungkook says. "Like you're a stain. Don't sign it." "I won't." "You don't have to martyr your campaign for me," Jimin says. "This can be my fallout." "It's our fallout," Jungkook says. "Because it's our honesty." "I'm not signing a gag order dressed as brand hygiene." "Then what do you say when they ask?" Jimin asks. "I say the same sentence we've been practicing," Jungkook says. "And then I sing." "You sure?" "I'm sure." Jimin exhales, not for dramatic punctuation, but because lungs are honest. I'm here for 30 minutes, he says. Not to rescue, to stand. Stand then, Jungkook says. I'll do the rest. The press room is a machine with too many levers, all of them labeled with the same word, content. Jungkook enters with his yes and no sorted like tools in a drawer. The moderator gestures. The lights do what lights always do. Microphones wait like traps pretending to be bridges. First question, someone says. Is your relationship with Jimin over personal or professional? I don't weaponize love, Jungkook says. Professionally, he's stepping away on his own terms. Personally, we still eat noodles and argue about bridges. Next, does his exit damage the group brand? Brands don't cry when they hear a bridge that finally breathes, Jungkook says. People do. Next, will you distance yourself to avoid confusion in the market? No, Jungkook says. I will reduce confusion by telling the truth. We support each other. We take separate paths. Both can be true. Did he betray you? He told the truth, Jungkook says. Truth isn't betrayal. Next. Are you worried about losing sponsors? I'm worried about losing myself, Jungkook says. Sponsors can decide if they prefer a spine or a script. A hand rises with a paper that looks familiar. We've seen an internal memo about unfit for duty. Care to comment? It's been retracted, Jungkook says. I accept the apology. We move on. Will you perform a song about this drama? I'll perform a song about cruising, Jungkook says. Drama is optional. Choice is not. The moderator thanks everyone because time is a leash, and then the leash ends. Backstage, the rep reappears with a smile that calls itself professional. You did well, he says. But the addendum, shred it, Jungkook says, or keep it to teach interns what coercion looks like. The rep leaves. Jimin doesn't clap. He doesn't congratulate. He doesn't turn this into a lesson. He says, go sing. And Jungkook goes. Open with We Still Sing, the producer asks at the side of the stage. Yes, Jungkook says. And don't roll the B-roll of Together Forever. Roll nothing. It's the song. Copy. The crowd doesn't know it's about to get a map instead of a monument. The music starts. Jungkook enters the song he watched Jimin build, and he carries it like a lantern he refuses to sell. When it ends, he speaks one sentence that isn't part of the set list. We still sing, he says, even when we don't stand in the same spot. No fireworks, no confetti, no scripted hug. Just a line that can't be trademarked, and then another song that has nothing to do with announcements and everything to do with existing. Back in the green room, silence takes off its shoes. Jimin doesn't break it. He opens his laptop, presses play on a rough mix, and lets the room fill with something that's not an answer, but feels like one. Track 4? Jungkook asks. After the contract, Jimin says. What's the hook? Sign my name in pencil so he can erase what hurts. 2 on the nose, Jungkook says. And I love it. I can soften it, Jimin says. Don't, Jungkook says. Let it be obvious once. We hid for long enough. There's a knock that's not a trap. Namjoon steps in with a bag that smells like food made by someone who cares. He doesn't posture. He doesn't moderate. He places the bag and says, eat. Then, I'm proud. Then, don't turn this into a poem before you turn it into a life. Working on it, Jimin says. Good, Namjoon says. Also, the bridge in We Still Sing, you made it short on purpose, didn't you? Yes, Jimin says. Cruel, Namjoon says. Accurate. They eat, not like a scene, like survival. When the last container is empty, Namjoon taps the table once a period, not an applause, and leaves. Phones stay down. The world can scream in its own room. Next problem, Jungkook says. Not because he's courting chaos, but because problems line up when you quiet one. A sponsor will walk. Let them walk, Jimin says. You're not a bus stop. Another will test your boundaries, Jungkook says. They'll ask you to soften your stance in exchange for a glow-up campaign. I say no with a lowercase n, Jimin says. No rage, no treaty, just no. You're getting good at this, Jungkook says. I had a teacher, Jimin answers, and they let the compliment do its job without turning it into currency. Night brings a different kind of negotiation. The kind you have with yourself when the loud is gone and the quiet starts asking questions. What are you afraid of right now? Jungkook asks. Easy, not fishing. Being remembered as the boy who quit, Jimin says. Being written as a cautionary tale that makes managers feel wise. What do you want to be remembered as? Jungkook asks. A person who changed on purpose, Jimin says. A person who picked himself before the brand picked for him. A person who made something that didn't apologize for existing. You will be, Jungkook says, even if you never read it. What about you? Jimin asks. What's your fear? Being seen as what's left, Jungkook says. Like I'm the remainder after division. Like the stage is a room where I'm the last one at the party picking up cups. What do you want instead? Jimin asks. To be seen as a cruiser, Jungkook says. I chose to stay, and I chose to sing, and I chose to love you without a press release trying to tell me how. Done, Jimin says. I see you that way. Start there. I will. They draft a new set of private rules, not for punishment, for peace. Tuesdays stay sacred. No questions about numbers unless invited. No fixing an answer that belongs to the other. If the world asks for blood, they give it a song instead. In the morning, the inbox coughs one more test. A friendly columnist offers an exclusive tell, all over coffee. Your narrative, unfiltered. Filtered by you, Jimin mutters. He replies, no tell, alls, no coffee. We'll let the music speak. Another email. An indie distributor offering to back the album under his legal name, Clean Terms. They swear. No clause in the margins. He forwards to Min with a single line. Honest? Min answers, surprisingly, we'll redline anyway. Proud of you. Proud, Jimin texts back. Lawyers don't do proud. This one does, Min replies. Eat breakfast. They do. They don't call it self-care. They call it eggs. Later, Jungkook sends a voice note with a melody for the bridge he won't win. Just in case, he says. Jimin replies with a laugh written out loud. No. Then a second message. Mabe. Then a third. No. Tarrant. Jungkook writes. Independent, Jimin writes back. The day stretches into work. They step into the studio not as saviors, not as martyrs, not as spokespeople for a movement no one hired them to lead. They step in as people with hands and history and stubborn preferences. From the top? Jungkook asks. From the second verse, Jimin says. That's where I start telling the truth without dressing it in metaphors. Sing it like a confession you're not sorry for, Jungkook says. That's the only way now. They track. They delete. They track again. Progress isn't a ladder. It's a loop with a direction. At some point, it clicks in the way true things click, not loudly, not with confetti, just with the relief of, that's it. You hear it? Jimin asks. I hear you, Jungkook says. Good. A message buzzes from a trainee they once encouraged in a hallway after a show. I asked for a break today, it says. I didn't implode. Thank you for naming a choice. Replay? Jungkook asks.